All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. How you all doing today? All right. This is Attorney Odunlami, and I am here on Tuesday to get into another immigration topic that I know will be of value to somebody out there. All right. So I've had people ask me to do this topic because I've done it in the past many times, but I guess there's a demand for it now. So we're going to do it today. And so I'm going to introduce myself for those who do not know me or who the people who are just joining me for the first time. My name is Ifeoma Odunlami. I'm an immigration attorney from the Odunlami Law Firm in Cedar Knolls, New Jersey. My law firm serves clients in all 50 states and abroad. Our specialty is family-based humanitarian. We do some employment, specifically R1, EB3s. So if you have any immigration issue relating to these areas, please feel free to give us a call, 973-993-1900. As you can tell, I'm an immigrant as well. So my passion, my mission, and that of the members of my team is to assist our fellow immigrants in getting legal status so that they can live here in the United States without fear of deportation, without fear of family separation, so that they can contribute to America and basically achieve their American dream, which is the reason they came to the United States. It's not easy to leave your country, to leave everything you know, to leave everybody you know, and move to a new country and set up a new life. So when you take that step, you have a reason for doing that. And our goal here is to help you achieve uh, the goal that you have in mind for yourself. So please feel free to comment in the section and ask your questions. I'll give my topic and then I'll answer a few questions. I'm not 100% today. I'm actually a little under the weather. I have a pounding headache, but I really wanted to get this done because I had already scheduled it and I figured I should just get into it. So please, if you're signing on, say hello. Let me know where you're signing in from. And again, thank you for joining us. So, guys, what am I going to talk about today? We're going to talk about red flags in a marriage-based case. Red flags. And I'd like to talk about this because a lot of people believe that just because they're in a legitimate good faith marriage, they don't have to do anything extra. And let me tell you something, once immigration runs down a rabbit hole of thinking that, oh, this is not a real good faith marriage, oh my God, the stress, you don't want that. So you better listen up. And if you know somebody who is in this situation, getting married, or has filed a petition where having a bona fide marriage is important, you want to send this video to them. I always say this, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the better you're able to assist yourself and to assist your lawyer, okay? So let's get into it. So I want to talk about red flags in a marriage-based petition. And first of all, let me just put this caveat out. A red flag, right, does not mean that you're not going to get your green card, does not mean that you're not going to be able to prove that your marriage is a bona fide marriage. It just means that these are things that USCIS has looked at over the years and have determined that if they see any one of this, is something that they need to give extra scrutiny. So if you have any of these red flags, and the list I have is by no means, all of it, it's not conclusive. It's just some of the things that I just want to talk about. Maybe another video, I'll talk about the other ones, but I have really 30 minutes. So I'm just going to discuss a few of them. So it just means that you just need to have other evidence because you have this red flag. So you want to make sure that you're shoring up other evidence to let them know that indeed it is a bona fide marriage. Because if it's not a bona fide marriage, then you're violating immigration laws. If it's not a bona fide marriage, you run a risk of finding that you're involved in a sham marriage. And a sham marriage is the death knell of getting your green card. It's a permanent bar. and I know many people who are suffering, who have come for consultation, and this is something that happened a long time ago. They probably got married, the marriage was denied, but because they didn't know about 204C, which is what that law is that prevents you from getting a green card if USCIS makes a finding that you were involved in a sham marriage. They didn't know about it, so they pretty much just were like, okay, the case was denied. Me and my spouse are not together anymore. I really don't care. I'm just going to move on with my life. They didn't realize that they had to fight that 204C determination. They didn't realize they really had to submit a good showing for USCIS to know that it's a bona fide marriage, and that the lack of evidence had nothing to do with the fact that it wasn't bona fide. And sometimes the lack of evidence may mean that there might have been abuse in the relationship. Maybe the U.S. citizen or green card holder partner is refusing to bring out information so that they can file a proper petition, just to allow them to continue to maintain power and control. So without much ado, let's get into the red flags, okay? And I'm not putting this red flags in order of importance, it's just random. So let's talk about the one I have on my list. I have a list of 19, so let's see how many we're gonna get through. So number one is inconsistent answers during your marriage interview. As you all know, when you file a marriage-based petition, a lot of times you'll be called for a marriage interview, you and your spouse. Sometimes you're not, because maybe your initial submission really convinced them that it was a bona fide marriage. But now if you're called for an interview, does not mean that USCIS doesn't believe that it's a bona fide marriage. It just is that maybe they're just calling people for interviews at this point. So when you are called for an interview, sometimes you're interviewed together, or sometimes you're separated. If you're separated, we call that a Stokes interview, right? So if you're separated, they'll ask your partner the same question that they ask you to determine whether you guys have the same or similar answers. And there are certain questions that it just makes no sense for your answers to be different, right? So, for instance, USCIS feels that you should always be able to answer similarly when you're asked about how you met, who proposed to who. But I actually find that that's a question that a lot of people have conflicting answers, because sometimes it's because there's not an understanding on the proper definition of meeting. So some people will determine that we met the first time you slid into my DM, that's when we met. And others will think, well, it's when we met in person, right? So that's why it's important that when you're going for a marriage-based interview, that you really do need to prepare and with your partner and your lawyer to just make sure that those little, in these days of online dating, it's really conflicting to figure out what is the first meeting, and sometimes the officers don't ask questions that allow you to explain what you mean. So it's a good idea to understand, to figure out whether the meeting is the first day you met in person or the first day contact was made. All right. So another thing that it makes no sense if you don't know the answers to it are questions that are close in time, such as how did you guys get here? One person saying we took a train and the other person saying we took a bus. That's a conflict, because this just happened like what, an hour ago? How can you have different answers, So those kind of questions are the kind of questions that if you have different responses, it's going to raise that proverbial red flag. Okay. Now, another thing that could raise a red flag is if your answers appear to be rehearsed, like you crammed it and both of you are regurgitating the same exact thing with no difference word for word. That could actually lead an officer to think, is this a planned misinformation, or is this really, what it is? So rehearsed answers are a red flag, actually. Now, not knowing, during the interview, they'll ask you questions such as, questions about each other's family member. Not knowing your family member, extended family members, or even direct family members, such as the children of your spouse. Not knowing how to pronounce their names, and God forbid, not knowing how to pronounce your spouse's name. Oh my goodness, no, please. That's a red flag. as red as it gets, okay? Now, another thing that's a red flag is not knowing your home address, not knowing your zip code, not knowing the streets, kind of close to your home. Yeah, those are red flags, okay? Because you expected to know where you live unless you just moved in. It really, that one's a tough one to get over. But like I said, a red flag does not mean you won't get your green card. It just means that you really have to have other evidence or have a good explanation as to why you provided the answer you did. And I have to tell you that a lot of times people are just nervous, really nervous, and they're nervous and they draw a blank. That happens to a lot of us. They just draw a blank, can't remember their kid's name, can't remember anything because they're that nervous. So if that happens, that happens. But like I say, the red flags are there, but your other evidence should be able to get you, show that it's a bona fide marriage. So another red flag is when you get married within a short period of time. I have to tell you, when I talk to couples who got married like within a month of meeting each other, that raises a red flag for me because I'm like, really? I mean, what is it about this person that made you think within a month I need to be married to that person? That's a red flag, So, however, does it happen? Yes. And are there people who want to get married within a short period of time? Yes. Pamela Anderson, I can't remember all the Hollywood stars that did that, but I guess in Hollywood it happens, and USCIS can accept it from Hollywood, but they can't accept it from immigrants, I guess. But like I said, it's just a red flag, right? But when you get married within a short period of time of meeting each other, or when you get married during pivotal immigration events in your life, such as when you just graduate from college and your F1 is coming to an end, when your H1B is coming to an end, when you're losing your status, your legal status, when you're placed in deportation proceedings, those are red flags. As a matter of fact, if a person is placed in deportation proceedings, you're required to actually the burden of proving is a bona fide marriage is actually heightened because you want to show that you didn't get married to escape being deported. All right. So let's talk about people living together. USS is very traditional. They love traditional marriages, people living together and all that. But it happens that people don't live together sometimes for many reasons. Could be that one person is in school, the other person is working. Maybe you both have jobs that you cannot leave at the time because for a lot of people, maybe the benefits that they're looking for is tied to that job. And so what do? You just want to show that you continue to be in each other's, communicate with each other. You're visiting each other often, you're seeing each other, and there's a lot of communication, and hopefully there's a plan for to get together at some point. So let's talk about certain evidence that you submit. And this is something that when I see it, it raises a red flag to me too. I get pictures where the person, it looks like is staged. For instance, pictures taken in a laundry room. Why? Like, it seems that the picture was taken just to show you're together. And in this day and age where you have iPhone, Samsung, I mean, you literally can take a picture anywhere. So you should have other pictures of other things that show your life with your spouse, apart from just pictures where you're just doing nothing. Now, pictures where you're wearing the same clothes in every picture, that's hugely suspect. Pictures, selfies, big time, just if all your pictures are selfies, I'm going to tell you that's really not helpful. USCIS wants to know that you hold yourself out in public to be a couple, that people know you as a couple. So they like to see that you're doing things together, going for shows, meeting family, taking pictures with your family and friends, that kind of stuff. And so your pictures are really important. Now, when people don't live together, like I said, that's a red flag. USCIS it's a bigger red flag if you live in the same city and you don't live together. Like, really, why? Why? Like, why? it's a huge red flag if you live like not too far from each other, but you don't live together. Why? So that makes no sense. So that's the kind of thing that USCIS, those are the kind of things that just get them like, this cannot be real. So if you know this and for some reason you have a reason why you're not living together, you want to explain that, okay? Now, if you don't have a shared language, your partner speaks maybe only Spanish, you speak only English, how do you communicate? So that's a red flag, because it's like, but I've had a case where they didn't speak the same language, but they communicated just fine, because, and you could tell that they knew how to communicate with each other in their, I guess, broken language. And USCIS could see that too. So that's why I say, it's just a red flag. It's not determinative of you getting a green card, okay? Now, if the US citizen has a history of petitioning many people in a marriage-based case, that's a big red flag. So when I do my consultations, those are questions I always ask. Have you ever petitioned for anybody? Has anybody ever petitioned for you? If you're also a beneficiary and you've gotten involved in multiple marriage cases, right, that's a red flag. So another red flag, which we see quite a bit of, is a significant age difference. So there's a US policy manual that basically says that if there's an age difference of more than 10 years, they just need to scrutinize it. Like I said, we've had many cases where the age difference is more than 10 years and they've gotten their green cards. So if this is a red flag you have, just make sure that you have other good evidence to show that you're living in marital union with your spouse, okay? Now, let's see, what else? Another thing I want to discuss is affidavits that are scripted. And this, I noticed this a long time ago, right? Where somebody would submit affidavits and it sounds like it's from the same person. And I would ask, why do you have affidavits that sound like this from the same person? And then they'll say, oh, they said I should write it and they'll sign. I'm like, no. The person who's writing your affidavit is the person who's going to put it in words themselves. They're the person who's going to sign it themselves. You do not get involved in somebody else writing an affidavit. You tell them they're going to write an affidavit. You tell them what you wanted to write it about, like write about an affidavit saying that, explaining why you think my marriage to my spouse is a real marriage. Talk about the things that you know or you've seen around us, and include your name, date of birth, address, contact information, and if you have a picture or of us, all of us doing something, attach it. All right. So now, so you don't want affidavits that look like they're scripted or like they're professional affidavits, because some people think that because it's a legal process, they have to sound legalese. No, you don't. Just write it, okay? I know those people because, I know it's a real marriage because we've gone on vacation together, we've hung out together, we do things together, our kids are friends, whatever it is, why do you think it's a real marriage? Put it down, all right? Now, another red flag is if your marriage is a secret. Nobody knows you're married. Nobody knows you're married. That's a red flag for USCIS. And I've had a case like that where my client actually eloped because my the beneficiary was from, I think it was from Bangladesh, and the US citizen was from, I don't know, Ohio or something. And because the beneficiary was a Muslim, her parents did not, at least her father did not like the relationship and did not approve it. So they got married in secret. They were in school, got married in secret, and then they kept things on their wraps from their family. But guess what? All their friends knew that they were together, knew they were married. So we're able to show that it was a bona fide marriage, regardless of the fact that the parents did not know that they had eloped. So let's see. Another thing that is a red flag is having inconsistent information from information you previously submitted to USCIS. So if you have an immigration history, having inconsistent information with regards to addresses, where you've lived, children you have, marriages you've had, divorce dates. Those are all things that could get USCIS thinking, what the heck is going on? We need to look at this relationship some more. So, and I have to tell you this, if you're from certain countries, you're a walking red flag. Does that mean you're not going to get your green card? No, it doesn't mean that. But certain countries, USCIS seems to think there's a high incidence of fraud. Countries such as China, India, Nigeria, Jamaica, Philippines, they tend to scrutinize those relationships. But as you can see, many people from those countries are getting their green cards. So really, it boils down to being able to prove your case. Now, another red flag, which I have seen, is when children are born into the marital union, but from a different parent, not somebody in that marital union. So that's actually a red flag because, you have to be able to explain it. We had a client that this happened to, and we were able to submit affidavits from their pastor showing that the couple had counseling after the infidelity, and that they had gone for therapy, and they were, basically trying to get themselves back together. There was a period where they separated, they didn't live together because, it was, because due to the infidelity, and then they started working together to forgive each other, mend whatever it was. And the pastor was a huge part of it. Their therapist was a huge part of it. So we were able to show that, okay, and that case was approved. So I guess basically what I'm saying is, don't assume that because you have a red flag that your case is unwinnable. It's still, it can be won. You just have to be able to show that it is a real marriage. Another thing that USCIS looks at is when you guys have different schedules, which seems to suggest that you don't even spend any time together. So these are just some of the red flags that are out there, right? So if you have any of them, or you really want to make sure that your immigration case is reviewed by somebody who is prepared and reviewed by somebody who has experience, give us a call, 973-993-1900. And so let me answer some questions, and then I gotta go because, guys, I am not feeling good today. All right, good day to you, Tamara. Kolawole says, can I have your number? 973-993-1900 is also on I think it's Facebook. Now, another thing I want to tell you guys is that a lot of scammers out there pretending to be us. So just make sure you're calling the right number, which is the number I gave you, 973-993-1900. And if somebody DMs you, please be careful, because we don't DM you and ask you for money. But we've seen people who have been scammed because they've taken our social media persona, pretended to be us, and they're getting money from people. So you want to be careful. All right. And so Rose Joy says, how long does it take to approve the special juvenile visa after filing? I'd say about 3 to 6 months. We're getting it really quickly, quite frankly. There was a time, I think, beginning of this year, we're literally getting it within 6 weeks. So it really depends, okay? Ashley says, what if my fiance's property management won't allow adjustment to lease agreement until lease renewal, so he won't be able to add me to his lease? What other evidence can we use to support cohabitation? So actually, that's a really great question. So another thing you could ask the leasing office is if they can add you as somebody who's allowed to live there. But if they won't, then you just need to show that you live there, proof that mail is coming there to you, proof that this is the address you use, your driver's license should show that address. I mean, a lease is not everything. It's a totality of your evidence that USCIS weighs. Yes, USCIS likes to see the lease agreement, but you explain it. The lease office won't add me until the lease renewal. But we have other stuff. We have all of this stuff that show that we're in marital union. Okay. So Michael Teta says, my spouse looks sneaky. I'm not sure if she has good intentions. I sometimes feel she'll sabotage me during the interview. Hence, my delay in filing. Is there anything I can do? So Michael, I don't understand about how you can tell your spouse is going to sabotage you based on the way they look. Is it maybe something they're doing? Are they being manipulative? Are they acting like they're trying to control you? Maybe you might want to talk to somebody and see let's see what's going on and see if you may qualify for another pathway. Okay. But if you're with somebody who is sneaky, I don't know, there's just something, do you really want to be with this person? So give us a call. Let's see if we can get down to the details of this issue. Let's see if there's something we can help you. Maybe there's another pathway. Okay. 973-993-1900. All right. So hello, Naxi. How are you? Adetola says he's connecting from UK. Well, hello, Adetola. So let me go to Instagram. So every time I have to go to Instagram and YouTube, I'm just like, oh my God, the writing is so tiny. How am I going to read this? There really has to be a way we can make the internet online, the script bigger for people like me who can't see that well. Okay. So Juicy says, if I was exploited by my employer during a J1 visa and I have evidence to prove, can I use that to get a green card even after leaving the country? So Juicy, that could be a tough one because I'll tell you why. If you are being exploited by your employer, you might qualify for a T visa trafficking. You might. I don't know the details of your case. You have to be screened for a T visa, right? But when you leave the country, you basically close down that T visa because the trafficking incident is over. There are exceptions to that. So if you want to be screened for a T visa, give us a call, 973-993-1900. Okay? All right, let's go. Okay, Bisilomo from Omaha, thank you for joining. So Somolan says, do I have to pay filing fees if I have a pending I-485? Typically, no, and I think you're probably saying you've already paid an I-485 where I hope you paid for your work permit and travel permit. If that's the case, you don't need to pay again. But if not, and if it's the new filing where the I-485, I-765, I-131 are not, we're not part of we're not filed and paid with just the filing fee from the I-485, you may need to do so. But I would need to get more information about when you filed this, what you filed, okay? All right. M. Boyarm 8 says, I love your videos. Thank you so much. I love making my videos for you guys. So Green Planet Garden says, can a U.S. citizen file for more than two persons? Of course, as long as it's not two spouses, but you can file for your spouse, file for your siblings, file for your parents, file for your children. You can file for as many people as you can afford to. All right. And EJ Fine says, I need your number, 973-993-1900. All right. All right. So, So Chidi Mawosu says, it's been almost 3 years and my petition from my U.S. citizen hasn't been reviewed. Can anything be done? Can anything be done? Well, it depends. I mean, 3 years is a long time for real. So I think you really do need to have somebody review it, find out what's going on. You can call our office, 973-993-1900, or you can call USCIS. But 3 years is a long time for your petition not to have been reviewed. Really long time not to have been reviewed. All right. All right. So African Hairbreeding says, divorced after I filed I-751 was granted a year ago, but I have been on green card in total 5 years. Can I apply for citizenship now? Yes. You've had your green card for 5 years and you got it from your divorce. Yes, you can. All right. So Totally Bothered says, I have an expired green card, but I'm stuck in Jamaica. Can I get it renewed or can I get help to return on some visa? So this is a question that you really need to do a consultation because there's several things that you could do. and I need to get more information about, what's going on with your case. You could go to the embassy and file, I think it's SB something, I don't remember what it's called. But that is really hard to win. So there's just different things you can do. So give us a call. Let's look into your case and figure out what can be done for you. 973-993-1900. All right, So Uyaiban says, I'm trying to file for my fiance abroad. Is it something you guys can do? Please, of course, we can assist you with a fiance visa. Remember that for you to file a fiance visa, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and you have to have been in contact physically with your fiance in the past 2 years. Okay. So Yin Dama 21 says, I'm in deportation proceedings. I did apply for prosecutorial discretion. What are the chances to be dismissed? I don't know. It depends on your basis for the prosecutorial discretion, and it also depends on the office. Some of them are not really, moving those cases forward. But remember that the prosecutorial discretion is a discretionary, avenue of getting you out of immigration court. So depends on how you packaged your case to show that you're worthy of that discretion. All right. Moses says, I have a visa interview in some days. What are your advice for me? Moses, I don't know what kind of visa is for. So I guess the only advice I can give you is make sure you take all the documents that you need to go there, answer the questions, that you're asked. The interviewer is not your friend. Treat this as an interview. Show up on time. All right. So Mami says, I was granted CATS after time in prison. What are my chances of getting a green card? It depends. So I think I would like to know why you went to prison. I want to know if you're inadmissible. Was it an aggravated felony? How long were you in prison? And do you have any other pathway to getting a green card? So that's not a question I can answer on live. You need to have a proper consultation so that we can get all this information from you, and then we can discuss in a strategy session. All right. All right. So let me go to I was on Instagram. I'm heading over to TikTok now. Oh Lord, I cannot read this. All right, I'm going to just answer a few questions on Instagram. So Sarah Whiskey says, hi attorney, how long does it take to get to a decision after your VAWA is approved? I guess you mean how long does it take to get your green card? It depends. We've seen people get it within 3 months, 6 months, a year. It really depends. All right. And we've seen people get it without an interview. We've seen people get it with an interview. All right. Let's keep going. Let's see. Noel says, can I apply for my green card 10 months after I won my case? I'm not quite sure what case you're talking about, Noel. Is that asylum? Asylum, you apply a year after you're in asylee status. So I'm not sure what case you won. See, this is the thing about TikTok. The same person will ask the same question like 100 times. And so when I'm scrolling, I have to keep scrolling past the same question that I have answered. So Andrew says, my sister with a green card, she's able to apply for my green card if I'm attending university in the US. Andrew, no. Your sister has a green card, she cannot apply for you. Your sister needs to be a US citizen to apply for you. And if your sister becomes a US citizen, you have to be in legal status for you to get a green card through your sister at a time your priority date is reached, because the sibling green card is taking a really long time. Okay. All right. So Melvin says, can I file my I-751 6 months before it expires? It depends, Melvin. That's a really good question, actually. If you're filing on a waiver, such as divorce, you don't have to wait for the expiration. Once you're divorced, you can go ahead and file, even if it's before the expiration. if you're filing based on abuse or extreme cruelty, you don't have to wait for it to expire. You can file right away. If you're filing based on the death of a spouse, you don't have to wait to. And if you're filing based on hardship, technically, you may not need to wait. But if you're doing a joint filing, you need to remove the conditions within 90 days of the expiration, okay? All right. Let's see. We're trying to read this. So, hello, I have my man in the US, but we don't know how to go about him coming to Nigeria. Have him get a visa, buy a ticket, and come to Nigeria. All right, let's see. So, Miss Diva says, how long can I wait to remarry after my divorce? I can't really answer that question because just because it is a red flag if you marry soon after you divorce, but I feel that this is a red flag that can be explained because some people, the marriage has been over long before they get the divorce. So you just have good evidence, I would say. All right. So Quadwo says, I filed my 360 and I'm done with my biometrics. Can I travel to my home for just 2 weeks? So Quadwo, you cannot travel outside the United States unless you have an advance parole document that allows you to travel. All right. So guys, okay, it's what time is it? 1:47, and really my head is banging. So I'm gonna take off now. But I hope this was a helpful video, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube live for you guys. And I will really try to do this on Thursday again. So if you have any questions, put them in the comment section and I'll review it. It could give me ideas on what topic to come up with on Thursday. So take care, everyone, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.